Hey guys, hope you're doing well. Today I wanted to go over a resource-based saving and loading system for Godot. I'm running 4.6, and honestly, I think resource-based loading is one of the best ways to save games. I know that's a huge point of contention for a lot of people who think of resource-based loading, saving as a vector of attack where malicious people can run lines of code if they mess around with a save file online and somehow get you to download the save file. I think you have to consider your game with some perspective, with some understanding of your user base, the scope of your game. You can think of what it means to mod games, how modding communities work. Is it trust-based? You guys can read a lot about it. Personally, I don't think it's too big of a deal. All right, so what are we going to learn here? We're going to learn how to save something, we're going to learn how to load something, and we're going to use it in a resource-based format. One of the nicest things about this when you're working with Godot is you're already leveraging resources. So this is a very nice system so that you can kind of translate what you already have, and you don't have to create a system where you have to serialize too much, I think, especially when you get to the more complex examples of saving resources directly from a resource to a resource. All right, let's get straight to it. All right, so in case you haven't worked with persistent data before, let's create a new singleton. I'm going to go over to my singleton folder, and I am going to create a new script. I'm going to name it data. And then I'm going to open it up. Now I'm going to save it. I'm going to go to project settings. I'm going to go over to globals, and I'm going to add this as a singleton right here by navigating over to my singleton folder, selecting data, checking that the node name looks appropriate, and adding it. Now, once you have your data singleton, or if you already have an existing singleton, you might already know that you put data inside it so that you can have persistent information that carries over no matter what scene you're in. So this can be useful for things such as keeping track of how much gold you have, or it could maybe track your player HP or tell you what items are in your inventory. There's a bunch of different use cases for just persistent data all around, and Singleton is one of the best ways to go about it. And so let me just create a couple new variables here, just so that we have something here. Just gonna go HP, and I'm gonna do var sunlight, because I have no clue. All right, how about we make this a Boolean actually? I don't know what this means, but that should be good enough. So I'm gonna go over and I'm just gonna make sure that I can increment these properties and I can show them just so that we have a nice little base to work off of. I'm gonna go over to my test screen. I'm just gonna add a label to it. Label, just like this. Move it over. I'm gonna call it gold, XXX, and I'm gonna give it a script. And I'm gonna do this really quickly because it's not really relevant to saving. It's just something I need to do to show you guys. So it's gonna be label gold. Just like this, extends label. It's on my label script. I'm gonna call this label gold. What we're gonna show for here is function ready. It's going to be update label, just like this, and it's gonna give us an error because we don't have the update label function yet. All right, so this is how we're going to update the text for the label. We're going to use a string, and we're going to call this variable from our singleton so that it just populates it whenever we call this function, or when the label is initialized, it'll run this again. So I'm just going to go back over to my data, and I'm going to initialize this at, say, 10. And let me run this test screen to see if it works. And it looks like it's working. It shows that gold is 10. Instead of showing this right here. So the label is updating. Cool. Now I'm going to throw in a quick button so that we can increment this and we can make sure that our gold is working. Button gain gold, gain 5 gold. Save that. I'm gonna go over, let's see, attach a script to this, change its folder to the scripts folder, just like that, create it, and I'm gonna go over to the signals, connect this press signal, go to source, and connect it to the button gain gold. Just connect it to itself basically. And now inside here, I'm going to do data.gold plus equals 5. So whenever we press this button, we're going to be gaining gold. Okay, and this is all just for testing, right? We can't really see it, but it is working. Just going to go back over to the data. I'm going to create a little signal here. Gold update. I'm going to call it resource. I'm going to just call it gold update. And I'm going to go right here and I'm going to create a setter, set value, gold equals value, and then gold update dot emit. And then back over on the test screen, inside the label, I'm going to connect a signal right here. Data dot gold update dot connect. And we're just going to connect it to this label so that whenever the gold changes, it's going to send out this signal, gold update, which will then be connected to this function inside this script right here, and it will update the gold. So I'm just going to save it, run it, just to make sure this is working. Looks good. So the important thing about the singleton is it's able to hold on to data so that between scenes, you're able to save it, store it, and then access it. So I've got these two scenes right here, the title screen and the test screen. And because I'm using a singleton to hold the gold value, I'm able to see it for what it is in both of these scenes. And so let's check it out, make sure that the gold amount isn't resetting. So we have gold 10. This is what the gold value is being initialized at. I'm going to move over to the title screen, which is a different scene, and then back over to the test scene. And it still looks like it's 10. Let's make it 20. It's being saved. Cool. But if I close it out and run the game again, it's going to default back to 10 because that is what the data singleton is being initialized as. So what if we want to save it at 30? Then we have to implement the saving system. All right, so now let's start on that. All right, so now I'm going to create a new folder. It's going to be my resource folder, just like that. And then I am going to right click this. I'm going to create a new folder inside that, and I'm going to call it save. Okay, so inside here, I'm going to create a new script. This script will be called save data, and it will basically be the foundation for our resource-based saving. So I'm going to create that, and I'm going to extend resource here because that is what we want to create. When we use a script to create resources, we have to give it a class name. So this is going to be called save data right here. Okay, cool. So inside here, this is where we're going to hold everything, and it's going to be a resource. So let's say data singleton. I've got a couple variables inside there that I want to save. It's going to have to be export var. So then gold is going to be an int, and let's export the HP as well. And what was that last one? Export var is sunlight. Really bad. Okay, cool. So these are what we are trying to save right here. Obviously, your game is going to be more complex, or it could be less complex, but likely more complex, which means you might have a ton of variables. This is just the first part though, so let me just show you how it's going to work, and then we can go from there to the more complicated case. Now, just like before, we're going to create a new singleton. This is going to be our save system now. So I'm going to right click, create a script, call it save system, create that, save that, go over to project settings. I'm going to go over to globals, hit this, double click save system, and then make sure that the name is good, hit add, and see that my save system is inside. Cool, close it out. So inside here, we want to do stuff when we start. When we start up the game, let's go function ready. And let's do let's create a new instance of this saved data that we have. So how about we create a new variable, bar data, and it's going to be save data, which is a resource that we just created. And we know that if we control click this, it'll show this. This is basically the class. It holds this information. Inside here, I'm just going to go data equals save data dot new. We're going to create a new instance of our save data resource. We're assigning it right here. Basically, it's going to live inside the singleton. As we play our game, it'll just exist inside here as soon as you run the game. The thing we're going to do with it eventually is we're going to save all our variables into this save data file inside here, and then we're going to save it onto a location on our computer. After that's done, the next time we load up our game, we're going to load up this information from the location on your drive that you've specified, and it's going to be this class. It's going to have the data that we created. It's going to pull it back in, and that is how you are going to load. So let's create a little path that we want to have for our data. It's going to be of type node path, and I'm just going to comment it out for what it's going to be for me. It's going to be user, I think, autosave dot tress should work for me. So let's create a function that specifies this. So you might be like, hey, why don't you just set it right here? You can. The only reason for this is because, say you want to have multiple slots, or you want to kind of vary the path depending on how you're loading in. You might want to do a little bit of string manipulation right here so that you can specify how it's going to be saved. For us, because we only have one path, I'm just going to run this function right away, and it will be equivalent to just setting it right here. All right, so the foundation of our saving system is complete. So let's go back over to our data singleton, and basically at the very top, I'm just gonna create a function, the ready function, and I am going to use a group. The good thing about groups is you can call everything inside a group, and you can run a function from it, which is going to be super useful for us because imagine we have all these singletons and they all have this function inside called save or something. We can target all of these and just run the save function all at once. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to go add to group, and then we're going to create a new group. It's going to be save. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new function, save data. This is the function that we're going to run whenever we want to save our data. And the way we are going to do this is we're going to call up the singleton, save system, and we want to pull that resource that we initialized when we started running the game, which is going to be data, right? And inside data, it basically holds all of the things that we specified inside it, inside save data. And so it's going to give us something like gold, and we're going to set it to the gold that we have on hand. Save system.data.hp equals HP. Save system.data.is sunlight equals is sunlight. Sweet. Now I'm going to head over back into the save system, the singleton, and I'm going to create a new function so that we can save our data. So it's going to be save data, returns void, and we're going to use getTree.call group, and we're going to call the save group, and we're going to call the function. It's going to be save data. So as you can see, basically all the groups, every node that we've assigned to this group save, we just want to create a function inside it, save data, and it's going to run all of this no matter what singleton you're in. So say you have a bunch of different singletons, you just have to do what we just did for data, which is this little setup right here, where we add it to the group, save, and then we have this function with the data transfer that we need. And the very last thing we have to do is we have to call up resource saver, save data to path. So with this, we're going to save what we just put inside data right here, and we are going to save it straight to the path that we have specified. We have successfully saved data. All right, so let's make sure that this works. So I'm going to go over to the test screen. I'm going to create a new button. Just like this, save that, and then I'm going to rename this save game. Signals pressed. I'm going to connect this pressed signal back to test screen. Okay, so on button save game pressed, we're going to do save system dot save data. So then it'll run this function right here. Okay, so let's give it a shot. Let's make sure that we're on the test screen scene, and then we're going to hit run current scene. Sweet. So I'm gonna gain maybe 25 gold. I'm gonna hit save game, just like that. So I'm gonna go over to project. I'm gonna open user data folder. And inside here, this is gonna be available. And as long as we saved it as the .tress or the text-based resource, we can just open this up. You can use it with the Notepad++, or you can bring it inside Godot. And you can double click this and it'll open up as a resource. Look at that, gold 25, just how we expect it to be. All right, so now let's finish this up by getting the load working. I'm just gonna delete the text-based resource file that I added in. I don't need that. Remove. And I'm going to go to my data singleton, and I'm going to create this function load data. And I'm sure the cogs must be turning. You guys already know how this is going to work, right? We're just going to do what we did before, except just the opposite. Just like this. What we did before is just going to be flipped because that is how we are going to load the system. Everything inside here. Okie dokie. So now with this, we have a new function and we are still assigned to the save group, so we can call it very similar way. I'm going to head over back into the save system. I'm going to create a new function, load data, returns void. We don't want this to fail if there's a situation where you don't have any data to load. So let's first check that that case is accounted for. If not, file access dot file exists path return. So let's just take a look at what we just wrote. So we're using this file access class because we can use this function file exists. What we're doing is we're just checking, hey, is there something here? If not, do not run this function. Okay, so in the case where data does exist, let's load it up with resource loader. Just like resource saver. Dot load. It's going to tell us what we need. We need a path, which is a string. We need a type hint, which we don't. We need a cache mode. All right, so the path is going to be path. The type hint, we don't really care for it, so we're just going to leave it as default. And the very last bit, we're going to use resource loader dot cache mode, and we're going to ignore what's currently loaded. Just like this. Very good, very good. Now let's finish this up with get tree dot call group, the save group, and we are going to load data. All right, so let's make sure this works by creating a new button inside our test screen. I'm just going to move this up. I'm going to duplicate this with Control D. I'm going to rename this button load game. Use Alt to move it, and then I'm going to change the text to load game. I'm going to disconnect the signal right here, and I'm going to double click, make sure that I'm going to attach it to test screen. And right here, I'm going to do save system dot load data. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so when I run the game, we're going to have gold initialized at 10, but we do know that we already saved the game at 25, right? So let's give it a shot. This is the base game. Nothing has been loaded. Let's try to load the save file that we have on hand. Boom, 25. Crazy, crazy. We gain up to 50 gold. Let's save it. Let's close it. Run our game. Load the game. Look at that. With that, the basic saving loading is good to go. Now, I promised you guys that I'll take a look at the more complex case. One of the best things about using a resource-based saving system is that you get to leverage resources. They're very powerful. I don't have any of the resources in the project that we created this save system in, but we can take a look at Cauldron Craft real quick. I have this charcoal text-based resource, and it's an inventory item that you can see right here. Inside it, I've just got a bunch of values, right? Just as we created our values for save data, it's filled with a bunch of important information related to inventory items. And this one specifically is charcoal. So say I have this charcoal and there's properties that it has that I want to save, but we don't want to serialize this into like variables. We just want to save this entirely and load it up entirely. How do we do that? Well, it's going to take another video for us to figure out that one. There's also the fact that we didn't cover metadata. It's kind of like the separate system because you have to load information about your save files before you've loaded up your save files. Similar stuff, just slightly different application. I don't know. Let me know, guys, if you are interested. And of course, thank you so much to our channel members, patrons. Thank you, South Korean. Thank you for keeping the channel afloat. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.